So when during the decade did you stop being Sid the Kid?
I don't know. I didn't know I don't think I've ever thought of myself as Sid the Kid, but it's probably a question for someone else besides myself.
When did you start feeling old?
I don't know if I've ever felt old. I think, you go through things, you gain experience. Probably towards the later part of this, I think, you see guys coming in and, the age of your team, kind of changes and you're no longer, the younger guy or in the middle, you're one of the older guys, but still doesn't necessarily mean you're old, but I think you've got some experience and I think towards the later part of, the decade, that's when I realized that.
Well, your decade, you finished the previous decade with a cup. Now it's February 2010, and there's the golden goal in Vancouver.
Back ahead now comes Sidney Crosby. Crosby tries to dance through. Miller guides it away to the corner. Crosby up with it there. Punched along to Jerome McGinley. Crosby scores! It's over! The gold medal to Canada!
Did that goal change you in any way?
I don't think it changed me, no. I think, it's an amazing experience when I look back in memory and, as a kid growing up, you dream of playing for Team Canada. You don't know that situation is going to be in your home country and end up, finishing the way it did. But no, I wouldn't say it changed me. I think it's an amazing experience and an amazing memory that I have.
Because Paul Henderson had changed the arc of his career, but it seemed to me just one more great thing you did.
Yeah, I don't look at it like that. I look at it as just, something so fortunate to be a part of. When you think about Olympics and, you look at, we didn't play in the last Olympics and the fact that, I was able to be part of that as a hockey player in a country with, hockey as passionate fans as we are. I think all those things combined, it's just an unbelievable memory and something I was really happy to be a part of. And you look at the guys on that team, looking back now, I probably appreciate it, more than ever.
So 2 Stanley Cup finals in your first 4 years and a cup in '09. What were the challenges you faced in getting back to that during the 2010s?
Well, we had, definitely with the injury. Missing a year, I think that was definitely tough, especially when, I felt like 2010 when we lost in that playoff series, I felt like we kind of just ran out of gas. It wasn't necessarily how good we were. I think we just, haven't gone to the finals the 2 previous years, Olympic year, all that stuff. So that next year, I think we were really excited about, about the group that we had and, to get hurt and miss as much time, as I did. And, I think that was tough. And then, losing in some of those playoff series, early exits and some disappointing years and, the Boston, year when we lost in the conference final. So, having some tough goes in the playoffs after some relatively, early success, I think that was tough, but, you got to go through that.
Starting in 2011, you had the concussion, and over those 3 years, you ended up playing just 99 games. How did injuries impact you?
Well, that injury specifically, as far as the concussion, was just something I didn't know a lot about. I don't think, a lot of people, I think even since then, we're 10 years from that, and, I think we've learned so much more about, how to rehab and things like that and the things you can do. It's not just, sit around and kind of wait and see. It's, there's a lot more that we know about it. So I think, just the unknown, and, it's not a 4 to 6 week thing. It's just something that I think from a rehab standpoint was difficult not knowing. And I think the longer it goes, the more you start to think, is this something that's going to, be like this for a while, and the effects and that kind of thing. So I think that was tough to deal with, but, I learned a lot through that. And I think, when I eventually started, getting back to play.
Did it change you as a player?
Yeah, I think it did. I think I started to learn to have a little bit more fun. I think that, I've always been pretty focused, but I think going through that, I think I realized that, how much I love the game and how quickly things can change, and the expectations and all those things that you think about that push you. I think they're always going to push me, but I think just enjoying it and having fun was something that I probably appreciated a little bit more.
In what ways did you have fun?
Just trying to take things in a little bit more. I think, as an athlete, sometimes you get so focused in on your goals and what you want to do and getting better and that kind of thing. And I think, after going through that, you realize what you miss about the game. It's, the camaraderie and the people you meet and being around teammates and the friendships and that kind of thing. So I think I learned to appreciate that stuff and to kind of take those things in a little bit more.
You won a lot of awards during the decade, regular season now. Which of those awards means the most to you?
I don't know. I think that, probably, I want to say it was 2014. Yeah, it was after the shortened year. I had a really good year. And, I felt like I'd gone through a lot, injury-wise. And, I don't really think about individual awards a whole lot, but that was more, something that meant a lot just because I knew what I had gone through to get to that point. It'd been a long process to get healthy and to come back and finally be healthy, but then to have a shortened year and, to break my jaw at the end of that year and have a disappointing finish, to be able to bounce back and have a big year like that, felt like, my game was back where it needed to be, and just everything felt normal, I think, after that point. Prior to that, there was a few years of just, different things, so everything felt like it was back on track.
2 cups, 16 and 17, yet you had a slow start in the 2015-2016 season. You said you lost confidence. How can you lose confidence?
That's a funny thing. I mean, sometimes I think that's a game. You feel like you're doing certain things or it's not going in for you, and it can be an uphill battle sometimes, but those are challenges that, like I said before, you need to go through, and they're not always fun, and I think it's important to learn from those, but yeah, it just, looking back at it, there's not one specific thing I could say that, hey, it just seemed to snowball a little bit. We didn't have a great start as a team. Maybe I put more pressure on myself at that point. We had struggled, in years kind of leading up to that. But, I remember going to the World Championships the summer prior to that year, and just being part of that, and that kind of gave me, a little bit of a spark. Just going through that, ending the season on a good note. So I think that kind of helped out.
The run in 2016, was that your favorite Stanley Cup?
It's hard to pick a favorite. I think as far as what we went through the whole year, talk about 2 totally different chapters as far as the first half and second half. But yeah, the way we were able to just throw it all together and what we went through, pretty impressive. And the way we played. I mean, we had quite the team. I mean, it was a tough go. We had some tests along the way, but we had a pretty solid team.
No team had won back-to-back since Detroit in the late 90s. Are those cups and the 2 Conn Smythes your legacy in the NHL?
I don't know. I don't really think about that a whole lot. I mean, I look at the back-to-back, and I think of all the things that went into that and how much we talked about it and how many times we had to answer, can we do it? We were told, the odds weren't on our side, and, all the injuries we had at that point. It literally feels like those 2 years were just one long year. And just, having gone through that, it was an amazing experience. And as an athlete, it's hard to really describe it, but that's why you play, is to be in situations like that and to be challenged like that. So the fact that we're able to do that with, a pretty similar group, which is even more special because all those guys would have gone the distance the year before and had to do it all over again together. It's really unique, and I think that's something definitely that I'm certainly proud of.
How did your game evolve during the 2010s?
I don't know. I think that, as you get older and, you play, you learn just the little details and how important they are. And you're always told, you hear coaches every day talk about them, but you see it more and more. They come up time and time again throughout the year, through playoffs, things like that. So I think just, trying to make sure that played as well as I can at both ends of the ice, and, understanding that it's not always going to be, perfect, or, you can do the right thing sometimes. It doesn't always translate to wins, but more often than not, if you do it over a longer period of time, it makes a difference, and you need a whole group to buy into that. But, certainly for myself, that's something that I really try to remind myself of.
Well, you're now a Selke candidate. You're a high-end face-off guy. Are these the kinds of things that developed for you during the decade?
Yeah, I think that just comes with experience. I mean, it's not something that you necessarily have to go in there thinking about, but it's something that develops over time. And I think any player will tell you, when you're young, you probably don't understand it quite as much as when you've played a few more years. So yeah, I think for me, it's always been important to have every part of my game be where it needs to be. And when it comes to face-off, things like that, as a centerman, that's part of it. So yeah, I try to be good in all areas, but I think as you get older, you realize which ones really make a difference.
Are you less or more of a perfectionist now?
I would say the same. I would say that just, you know your strengths, your weaknesses. You understand things that come up a little bit more, and what you need to improve on and what's important. So the speed of the game is continuing to get faster and faster. So, making quicker decisions and being able to make plays, fast is always going to be at the top of the list. But all the things that go into that, you're always trying to work on them.
How have you evolved as a person? You seem less emotional, more in control of yourself.
Yeah, I think experience will do that. I think, I think just as far as, trying to be a leader, and I think when you're a little bit younger, you're still trying to sort through that. You're trying to figure out kind of where you stand and all that, and what you need to do, and you can put pressure on yourself because of that too. So I think just understanding kind of how to balance all of that. That's probably the biggest thing, I think, when I think about pressure and being able to control your emotions, that kind of thing. I think I kind of wear my emotions on my sleeve there, and I think that during games that's part of it. You're going to see that, and I think when I'm playing at my best, you do see that side of it. But I think I've learned to control a little bit more.
This decade was, in fact, marked by your relationship with Alex Ovechkin. How has that mutated over the years?
I don't know. I think there's definitely a mutual respect there. I mean, what he's been able to do, since he got in the league, and with the expectations. I mean, there's very few people that probably can relate to that. Probably only a handful, and I think to be in the same division, to go, to be able to go head to head year after year. There's a lot of expectations that come with that, and what he's been able to do and what he continues to do is incredible. So yeah, there's a lot of respect for what he's done, and he's still doing it just as consistent as he did when he first came in.
How do you feel about Ovechkin and 700 goals?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, just the way he shoots the puck, the consistency that he's had. He just, like a down year is anyone else's amazing year. So I think, yeah, he doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon, and it looks like he's going to keep filling the net.
It is Ovechkin moving back. He gives it on to Kuznetsov, moving on in. He scores! The Capitals have made it to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time in 19 years.
Was there something about you after they eliminated you in 2018 that you hoped he would win a cup or hoped he wouldn't win a cup?
I think that the biggest thing is I could probably just put myself in his shoes, and and I think I look back, when I thought about that, that whole run, for them, was just thinking like, this is something I was able to, that weight was off my shoulders pretty early, and I probably could think back and think of the pressure I felt in '08, but I'm sure he felt a lot of pressure knowing that it's been a while, and he's pretty close, and all those thoughts that were probably going through his head. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily cheering for them, but I think I could understand what he was going through, and the relief and probably the joy that he felt having won it.
Will you, in the way that we talk about Howe and Richard from a different era and Canadiens, Boston, are we going to look back and say, wow, that Crosby Ovechkin thing, that was something?
Yeah, I hope. I mean, that's great for hockey, and I think when you look at it, the fact that we came in the league, the same time and had those expectations, and that we're able to sit and talk about it now and look back at different things that have happened over the course of time. It doesn't always work that way. There's always predictions, there's always expectations, and we have this hope of this, these matchups, and the fact that it actually has worked out that way. I think that's pretty unique, and I think as a hockey player, you love to compete, you love that part of it, but I think as a fan, I think you also appreciate that. So I think that's something that's pretty cool, and I'm glad that we've been able to see that.
What will you remember most from this decade for you?
Well, I think probably the Olympics, just the way it started, and then I think those back-to-back Stanley Cups, those three things will probably stick out the most. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't predict the future. So looking back, those are some pretty great memories.
How has the league changed in this decade?
I think the speed of the game. Just the way it's played. It's a different style. It's probably a little bit more offensive. There's a little bit more room to make plays, but that being said, probably less time. So it's definitely changed. You don't see as many fights and that kind of thing. I think when you look at hits to the head and that kind of thing, I think we've really cracked down on all that stuff as a league, and I think players are more aware coming in and have seen certain things that have happened, and are more aware, I think, of that kind of thing. So the style has changed, but I think the product is still pretty good. There's some great plays being made, a lot of creativity, and but the speed is definitely at its highest, I think.
You're on the back half of your career now. What do you envision for yourself in the 2020s?
I don't know. I'm hoping Stanley Cup. That's why I play, and I think just looking back to the last one, the last decade, I don't think I really tried to look too far ahead. It's hard to know what's going to happen, but that's why I play the game, and just hope to be able to do that again, and just play as long as possible.
Tom Brady wants to play till at least 45. How long do you want to play?
I'd love to play as long as I can. I mean, I think it's easier to say that now, and you don't know until you kind of get to that point where you've got a decision to make. But I feel good now. My body feels good, and I love it just as much as I did when I started playing. So hopefully as long as I can.
Now that you're back, what's the outlook for this team in the second half?
I think just to continue doing what we've been doing. I mean, we've played incredible as far as the injuries we've had to play through. different guys in and out of the lineup. And, I think just when it came to every challenge, we faced it and got through it. So it says a lot about a team, and it's not going to get any easier in the second half. That the games get tighter and you get to more divisional games and things like that. So, we'll just have to continue to keep playing the same way. But we've taken some big steps here in the first half.
The Penguins, the team that no one wants to face in the playoffs.
I don't know. I mean, that's a question for other teams. I think the great thing that we've showed, I think, throughout the first half is just we're going to play the same way every night, and we believe in the way we play. I think as a whole, everyone plays the same way, and I think that can be tough to play against. So that on top of the fact that we've had to deal with some adversity and got through it, I think we definitely have a lot of belief.